Welcome to Issues. As you know, Issues is a program that reaches out to the community and we talk to those who are making things happen in the community. This week we have two lovely, lovely young ladies, and it is our pleasure and privilege to have Mrs. Olga Scott, the former First Lady of Bermuda, and we have Michelle Wade, the Executive Director of Teen Services. Well, let's get right to our first question. But first, welcome, Mrs. Scott.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome, Mrs. Wade.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mrs. Scott, Millie Neverson is a name I heard when I went around to Teen Services.
Yes.
Tell us a little about her, please.
Mrs. Neverson, she came up from the Caribbean to teach in Bermuda.
A West Indian?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I'm originally from Jamaica, so right away I like that lady.
Yes. So after many years of teaching, and she saw the fabric of the Bermudian community, and she immersed herself in Bermuda, she felt that what was needed was a home for young people. And in 1948, she opened a home for young people. At that time, it dealt with boys. And she opened the home, and they said in 5 years, she opened it with about 5 young men, and in about 5 years she had housed over 42 children. And she continued working in that area along with Miss Crawford in maintaining the haven. And then when she had difficulty in maintaining the home and needed funds, they launched very creative, a million penny drive.
And by the way, Mrs. Scott showed me a check from 1963.
Yes.
It's in pounds, and it was part of the penny drive.
It was part of the million penny drive, and she was able to raise funds in order to purchase the haven. And so it continued as in its service to the community and housing young people, many of whom are very successful young men in the community today. And as she became elderly, both she and Miss Crawford, and at that point, it was difficult to get government funding. The Teen Services took over the haven. So it's been 40 years since Teen Services has been running the haven as a residence. But understandably, because we are dealing with both with young women, so whatever the sex of the children, boy or girl, that's who we housed at the haven.
Oh. Now, was there a switch, and maybe Mrs. Wade, you may know this, since it's mostly young ladies now, even though Mrs. Scott said if it's young men or young ladies, you will service them, but it seems to be mostly young ladies now, and when was that kind of shift done?
Historically, majority would have been young ladies that we have provided services for, but we have provided services for young men. At this point, we completed a strategic plan. I think it was in 2011, and it was seen that we provide more services to at-risk young girls. So we changed that at that time, and we provide services for young ladies more than we do men. Now, men or young gentlemen. If we do provide a service for them, they usually are the secondary client. Oh. So they can be a brother or not husband, but a partner.
Lady,
yes,
okay.
Yes.
So when you say secondary, you mean the female is the
primary client,
and then any close relative, brother,
yes,
thing can be there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because even at housing at the haven, if a young woman comes to us, and she has, let's say, a 5-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter, we house.
Yes.
We'll house them. So that's where also too, when you help a woman, you're helping a family.
Yes.
And as you help a family, they say you're helping the nation. And so that's where we are.
Let me ask, over the years, say 10, 15 years, have you seen let me back up. At risk, you had used that term. Just define for us how Teen Haven would define at risk.
At risk, particularly for the Teen Haven program, would definitely be, number one, would be homelessness. Homelessness, exposed to drug abuse, alcohol abuse, domestic violence, haven't completed their high school education, at risk for pregnancy or sexually transmitted diseases, gang violence. Those are what we would consider young people that are at risk.
Mrs. Scott, how long have you been affiliated with Teen Services and the Haven?
Well, in teen services, I came to Bermuda in 1967. I was in the United States,
Okay.
but I'm a Jamaican by birth.
Oh my goodness! No wonder. Yes, yes.
Yes. And I was recruited by Mr. Stuart Mott of the Mott Foundation and Dr. Simon Fraser, who was Chief Medical Officer at the time, to come to start a program dealing with teenage young mothers. And I have been involved with teen service since that time.
Okay. Now let me ask this question. Have you seen a change in terms of the behavior and attitude of young people over those years?
I would personally, and Michelle, because she's in direct contact, I would say yes, because at the time when we came the school leaving age, I think they just increased the school leaving age, and so that more young women were in school. Also, for a number of years, Teen Services ran a continuation school, so which enabled young mothers to continue their education, so they could continue in a career. And we have, there are many successful young women in the community today who went through our continuation school. So, and when you, as I say, you get more education, more understanding, and also more community services, because we have to partner with other community agencies. I think yes, we have seen a difference.
Now, Michelle, what would be one of the more successful programs that you have with the young ladies?
More successful?
Yeah, with the variety of programs that you may offer them when they come to you. Is it counseling? Is it the educational portion? So what particular program you find that's very helpful in terms of young people, in terms of putting them back on their feet?
I would say the continuation school. We've had lovely young ladies go through that program, and they are productive.
Continuation school, just tell us what you mean by that.
Okay, the continuation school was an educational program for young mothers or pregnant teens, and they couldn't continue their education in the regular school system. So they were referred to the agency via principal and guidance counselor to be given educational services. We provided, the continuation school provided, we followed the directives, I should say, of the Ministry of Education. So that means that we provided the BSSC, and then that changed to the BSc.
Everything in the regular classroom,
yes,
they were exposed to.
And up until the end, the Cambridge program, as well as we implemented the GED program, because what we were finding was that some young ladies weren't able to meet the credits in time to graduate, and so we started to offer the GED program.
Is that your staff that does the teaching, or you use some of the ministry staff, of education staff?
We had 3 additional staff, 3 teachers with master's degrees that taught the classes necessary for them to meet the criteria to graduate. And it's not necessarily senior students. It started from S1 up until S4.
Okay. Now, what is the capacity of Teen Havens?
The capacity is 8. We have 8 bedrooms that can house 8 families. I like to say 8 families, could be mother and children.
Now, Mrs. Scott, I know your particular role at this time with Teen Havens and Teen Services is, I believe you chair one of the fundraising committees?
Yes, for this year, for the 40th year, we're chairing a committee to highlight the Haven, also for the memory of Mrs. Neverson. And one of the things we plan to do is dedicate the residential wing of the current Haven in the name of Mrs. Neverson. And so we're also going to raise funds, because I think at this time in the community, funding is critical, and housing is a basic need. So we want to ensure that the Haven can continue. Prior to Mrs. Neverson, she's done it since 1948, and we have been doing it for 40 years. So the Haven has been continuously doing, service in the community, providing service. So we want to get the community's involvement and raise funds to ensure that the service continues.
Now, where the Haven is located, does that belong to Teen Haven? Is it government? Do you pay rent, or does it belong to you?
Let me say that I wasn't chair of the board then, the Haven Trust. There's a Haven Trust Act, which owns the property of the Haven. I think when the government wanted to build the new Berkeley and the Haven was up there, I think there was an understanding or a discussion with the then lawyer, Mr. Charles Crossan, a stellar lawyer in our community, and he negotiated for some exchange of the property. So the government, I think, built the current haven where it is, so that they could have the land up on the Berkeley Road to complete the Berkeley Institute. And so and there are 3 members who run the Haven Trust. I'm one member, but there are 2 other members.
Michelle, how do young people, how do they get referred to Teen Haven and Teen Service, or is it one in the same? Now we know Teen Service and Teen Haven, are they synonymous, or are we talking about 2 different entities?
Teen Services operates Teen Haven.
Okay.
Right. So, and so we would consider Teen Haven a program under Teen Services, under the Teen Services umbrella.
Okay. How does one get referred to Teen Services?
Referral is open. I mean, that means that anyone can refer a young person to the Haven. We receive referrals from family, other social service agencies, the Department of Child and Family Services, others, like I said, other social service agencies.
Okay.
So
now, when a young lady and her family or child or children, when they're in Teen Haven, other than the continuation program, what else is provided for them? Do they pay rent? What else is provided for them?
what else is provided is counseling and support. Basic needs are met, which would include food and lights and electricity and what have you. But counseling and support and parenting program and life skills program.
Okay.
And definitely their basic needs.
Okay, but the basic needs are met. Now, recently, you had the Outstanding Teen Award. How did that originate? Was it with Mrs. Neverson, or was it later on?
It was later on. I think the first Outstanding Teen Awards that we have recorded is 1982. And the first winner, Outstanding Teen, was Dr. Malcolm Brock.
Oh my goodness!
Yes.
Oh, well, if you're Bermudian, you're familiar with
Yes.
Dr. Brock. That's
Dr.
all right.
Malcolm
May I
Brock.
just
Yeah.
add that prior to the Outstanding Teen, we used to have teen conferences.
Yes.
Yes.
For annual teen conferences where young people can meet and discuss and share, and it's part of growth and understanding. And then we shifted from that when one of the staff members said, rather than that, why don't we honor, because so many of our young people are doing so well, and to honor those exceptional young people in our community, and it's been going on. It's been since that time.
It's interesting, and you're right, Mrs. Scott. We have so many fantastic young people that are doing wonderful things. And while in Teen Haven, you are assisting those who are struggling. Your Outstanding Teen Award highlights those young people in our community who are doing a tremendous, tremendous job. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Outstanding Teen Award. Welcome back. We have been talking with Mrs. Olga Scott, former First Lady of Bermuda, and we are also talking with Michelle Wade, the Executive Director of Teen Services. And before the break, we were looking at the Outstanding Teen Award, but Mrs. Scott was indicating that before the Outstanding Teen Award, there was another format. And what was that?
Yes, we call it Teen Conference, where we would have forums and 14 panel discussions, by teens and with teens, but, with some adult leadership that's involved. And we had that for a number of years. And then also, Michelle reminded me that we also had a teen talent show. And so that what we had for some time.
Now, did it involve, the Outstanding Teen Awards now involved all of the schools in Bermuda if they choose to. So did the previous format, did it also involve all of the schools?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And it seems to me that the schools are very happy to participate in the Outstanding Teen Award.
Yes.
Now,
So this year, it is my understanding that we had the highest number of nominees.
Yes, that
124.
Yes, I remember that number. That was said. Now, Mrs. Wade, Michelle, you were indicating in terms of the continuation program. You were telling me something about that.
Yes, the continuation school, it no longer exists. We filled it up in 2011.
Primarily because
the lack of funding to be able to operate this school.
So how do these young people finish their high school education?
At this time, teen services, we go out into the schools to provide support services for those young ladies that are mothers or that are pregnant. So we network with the guidance counselors and the student and their family to make sure that services are in place for them. And of course, they receive their academic services at their high school that they're at.
To your knowledge, in terms of these pregnant young ladies being on a regular campus, does it bring any challenges to them?
Yes, I would believe it will bring challenges. I think it will bring physical and safety challenges. It also brings about social issues because, we're talking about young people and communication and if there are any issues, then young people are young people.
Yeah.
So it can cause issues for the classroom and what have you.
Yeah.
And the guidance counselors have been and the schools, period, they have been very supportive of teen services with reference to having the continuation school. So it's a big miss.
Yes.
It's a big miss.
I would hope that some way funding can be found, and I know it's quite a bit of money, but I would hope that funding can be found that the continuation school can continue.
Yes.
Now, recently you had the Outstanding Teen Award. I happened to attend and was very, very much impressed. You indicated 124 young people were there, the most ever in the Outstanding Teen Award. Now, how are these nominees selected?
Usually in October, we send out nomination forms to schools, churches, and organizations, asking them to nominate the best of the best for various categories. It's 10 categories, and the 11th category would be the outstanding overall. So we ask them to submit, and we give them a deadline. And then in January, we have approximately maybe 50 volunteers that sit on 11 committees, and they interview the young people.
Nothing wrong. But after the Teen Service Award, I was talking to one of the chairs of the subcommittee. He says he looks forward to getting that call.
Yes.
And he said the committee members too,
Yes.
they look forward to getting that call so they can judge the young people. And I remember hearing the heads of these various committees, how very happy they were and pleased they were. They said it took a long time, but they were, in fact, the one person that I was talking to said it took like 8 or 10 hours, but when he went home, he was refreshed.
Yes.
So it's a fantastic thing that you're doing. So now these nominations are sent out to schools and churches, and they're asked to select the best of the best. Now, Mrs. Scott, you mentioned Dr. Brock, Malcolm Brock, being the first.
First, yes.
Do any other names come to you of individuals that were?
Our honorary patron this year was Dr. Skylar Durling. So he was a outstanding teen. He was the outstanding teen in 1986. Yeah. And then we have Miss Janita Burke. We have quite a few people that are outstanding people in the community that have won that award.
It would seem to me that the best of the best are being nominated for the Outstanding Teen Award. So it would seem that out of those young people, in the next 10, 15 years, they will be outstanding people in the community.
Yes, and they are, yes.
Yes, and through your program, you are identifying them. I don't know if you can recall any of the names of those who won this year, but
Miss Claire Conyers from Work Academy. She's the 2016 Outstanding Teen of Bermuda.
And as a prize or award, what does that person get for the Outstanding Teen Award?
Miss Conyers won $2,500, an education award that will go towards her upcoming college year, I'm sure. She's going to be leaving us in September. Most of them do. And Miss Conyers also won, I think she won leadership, and I want to say academic.
Yes.
So she is quite prepared, I would say, financially to be able to put her winnings toward toward her upcoming university
Now,
journey.
what process is gone through at? By the way, let me back up. The person that I was talking to said he didn't even know who the outstanding person was. In fact, he said he wasn't even. Tell us the process before me trying to guess. What is the process? Here, the young people, they come before the various committees that they're nominated for. So, what is the process?
Okay, they're nominated. They are interviewed. Each interviewer scores.
Yeah. Do you remember the various committees that they? Or the various sections?
Most progress, perseverance, community, leadership, academic, sports.
Leadership has spiritual leadership.
Spiritual leadership as well.
Yeah.
So it's leadership, spiritual leadership, vocational technical arts, visual arts, performing arts. Did I make 10?
10.
Yes, and then outstanding overall.
Very good. So there are 10 committees then.
Yes.
That will interview.
11.
11.
Because you have one for the outstanding.
Yes. Okay. So there are 11 committees, and these young people that are nominated for the various categories will interview.
They will be interviewed. Yes.
Now continue the process.
They'll be interviewed, and the score sheets are tallied. And the winners for each category, male and female, there's a male and female winner for each category, and the scores are tallied, and then the winners are chosen that way, and they're not announced until the night of the event, and they are all those that are nominated. They are given a certificate, and they are given a medal just to be nominated, and then the winners are given $750. For their educational award, and then the outstanding overall, as I had said, will receive $2,500.
Wow!
To be used towards their education.
Yes. And we are grateful and thankful for the sponsors who continue to support the outstanding teen awards.
This year, I think your main sponsor was Key.
Yes, KeyTech has been our sponsor for the last 5 years, and last year they replied to us and they've extended for another 3 years. So we have 2 more years. We're so thankful to them. And there are a number of sponsors that have not only KeyTech, but they have sponsored categories for quite some time.
Yes. I did notice that in various categories, the person at the mic would mention their name. So that's very good. Let me just get back to the Teen Service, Teen Haven one more time. Transitional housing. I noticed that term. What exactly is that?
Transitional housing, meaning that the young person will come to the agency and they're just temporarily. We usually allow for a year, but based on the economic climate and the difficulties in the community, some young ladies have stayed longer than a year because they were unable to find employment. And so can't find employment means that you don't have an income, means that you can't rent an apartment or, even a boarding room. So we've had to keep people on longer until they have met their goals to be able to be self-sufficient.
A question, is there an age category or age limit?
At this point, well, it's always been 16 to the age of 24. We have taken people that have been beyond 24, 25, 26. And we've also adjusted our mandate to accommodate people that are not mothers or don't have children, because we've had people that are homeless and under the age of 21 and have lost both parents and have nowhere else to go. So we've accommodated people in that way as well.
Okay. Now, another term that I saw was prevention-focused education, and that is exactly what?
Prevention-focused outreach to the community. That is our program where the social worker will go out into the schools and provide support groups to not only mothers or pregnant teens, but also to at-risk male and female in the school system. At this point, we provide services to Dalwood Middle School. We also provide services to Cedar Bridge and the Barclay Institute.
Okay.
So we meet once a week. They meet once a week.
Let me ask this. As you look at, let me ask this one first. Gangs. I understand that even in some gangs that you have young ladies in gangs. Is there anything that come to mind that's motivating or driving young people to join gangs? Mrs. Scott, then Mrs. Wade.
Because I'm not in direct service, it's difficult for me to say. I think because Michelle is in direct service, she may be a better person to respond to that.
I'm sorry, Ms. Scott. Peer pressure, and unfortunately, in this day and time, where you live, if you live Somerset, you're pressured to support Somerset.
Yeah.
If you're in Hamilton, Pembroke, you're pressured to support Pembroke. So definitely, the word for me would be peer pressure.
Do you believe that there is a difference in terms of young people coming from a single-parent home as compared to a two-parent home? Are there more challenges to the young person who's coming from a single-parent home?
There are more challenges because what you're looking for are role models. Whether you're looking for a female role model or a male role model, if that's lacking, then there can be challenges. But this is where you would have to have support services or family support to assist that young person to be able to identify with a positive role model, whether it be male or female.
I think it's also important to say that because someone is in a two-parent family home doesn't mean that that family is functioning at its optimal. Because sometimes two-parent families can be just as dysfunctional as single parents.
Yes.
So it's important that we strengthen the families, whether it's one or two-parent in the household.
You know, and I've seen that. I know a few young ladies who had a child out of wedlock but have gone on, finished college, gotten a master's degree, and even gotten a doctorate degree.
Yes.
But they've always talked about the support of their family, their grandmother, their mother, their aunt, their cousin, who was helpful in terms of taking care of the child. So I think that support system is very, very important. As you look at the future for Bermuda and young people, what do you see in the next 5-10 years? Do you see it getting more challenging, or do you have hope? Michelle first.
Definitely, when I look at the Outstanding Teen Awards, I do have hope. For young people, I think that the community needs more finances to help agencies that are dealing with social problems in order to combat some of the issues that we are having. And for me, being in direct service, as Ms. Scott will say, I feel that we need to focus in on mental health issues, because I find that some of our young people are experiencing mental health issues and they're not addressed until adulthood. And we can pick up on it now, but we need to have some strategies in place in order to have that addressed, because you have to volunteer to be assessed. But I think that's very important, and based on the stresses that we are having in our community, mental health issues stands out in my mind.
For the future, and we're going to come back to you, Mrs. Wade, and if you will give us the information in terms of how to contact you.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that the future, one has to be optimistic about the future. But also we're hoping that those in authority is also very sensitive, and knowing that with each age, things change and you have to be able to respond to meet the change. And because maybe numbers may be smaller, but the need is still there. And so you have to respond to that needs. And the grants that are given to charities and organizations such as ours is really spent efficiently and effectively in terms of trying to make a difference in someone's life. And so consequently, when we look over the 40 years that Teen Services have run the Haven, we can say thanks to the wider community and the government, whoever at that time, in assisting us. But we also need to continue to reach out to assist those who are now coming before us. Because next year, Teen Services will be celebrating 50 years as an organization.
Mrs. Wade, if someone who's watching wishes to contribute or get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yes, you can contact Teen Services at 292-4598, or you can contact Teen Haven at 295-3220, and our email address is teenservices@northrock.bm.
And just repeat those telephone numbers again for us.
292-4598, that's Teen Services, and 295-3220, that's Teen Haven.
You have been watching Issues, and we thank you for being with us. We have been talking with Mrs. Scott and Mrs. Wade of Teen Services, Teen Haven, and we will see you next time.